You all have been busy with all the weather over the last couple of days, but I know it's something that we really need. Thank you all so much for joining us right here on 9 News at noon. Of course, we'll have another update with all the developing stories at 4.
Here in the 9 News backyard in North Arvada. We've got a little bit of sunshine and warming, clear skies here in the area, but we're expecting a little bit of shower activity later on. Not as much as elsewhere in other parts of the state, mainly focused to the south and also to the west out in the Grizzly Creek burn area. But we do have an active radar going on right now. a couple of things to point out really quick. There is a flood warning out in eastern Yuma County right now, going into the St. Francis, Kansas area. That's been just kind of a persistent heavy rainfall all morning, and some of the low-lying areas there and rivers are starting to rise. That, by the way, is the lowest elevation in the state of Colorado there in eastern Yuma County. Also, you see a flash flood warning did just pop up in the East Troublesome Burn area there in Grand County. I'll zoom in and show you that. It is kind of in between Grand Lake and the Highway 125, so it's not impacting that route up to Rabbit Ears Pass at the moment. It's generally a very small cell, but it's putting down heavy enough water, and it does reach the criteria in that burn area to elevate to a warning. So we do have that flash flood warning in effect there, and it's scheduled to go to about 3:30. If that cell kind of quiets it down and we don't have any trouble, they may cancel that a little bit earlier, but please be aware of that flooding situation once again throughout the state of Colorado today. The burn scar flood threat is lower, but we're expecting limited flooding in the Cameron Peak, East Troublesome. Obviously, we have one already, and the Cowwood burn scar. And then we have an elevated risk out in the Grizzly Creek there, the one out in Glenwood Canyon. So we'll have to be watching I-70 carefully. And then as we go into the weekend, a little bit of a drying trend, but there's just enough scattered shower activity in the mountains where we'll keep an elevated, or at least a limited threat of burn scar flooding going into the weekend, although it will be a drier overall situation. Here's a look at the flood watches and flash flood watches. So the flood watch down there to the south, southeast Colorado and southwest Colorado. The flood watch is more of a slower building flood where the rivers and streams gradually rise out of their banks. And a flash flood watch, that word flash kind of tells you that it kind of happens faster, and it also, the flooding happens en route to the river. So the rainwater making its way to the river also can lead to flooding. So two different scenarios there. And we do have, you can see that tiny little red mark in Grand County. That's the flash flood warning that is in place right now because of an active thunderstorm. Here's the computer forecast model showing statewide. You can see as we go here to start the afternoon, a lot of that heavy rain making its way out of the state of Colorado into Kansas and southern Nebraska at the moment. But you can see how this is going to kind of focus down there towards the south. The San Juans have been getting quite a bit of rain, and that's going to move across the bottom of the state today. And we'll have more flooding potential in the southeast part of the state later on as these storms build. Looking in the mountains there, you can kind of see a little bit of scattered activity, quite a bit of a cluster over there by the Glenwood Canyon area. So that's why we're really watching the Grizzly Creek burn scar. And then on the Front Range Mountains, you can see those small cells there, which we already have one that's already active. So this computer model is already kind of verifying. And as we go into the 2 o'clock hour, into the 3 o'clock hour, those Front Range storms on the Front Range Mountains and foothills start to get a little bit heavier, still persistent in the Grizzly Creek area, and then down south as well. And you see those heavy showers starting to form there in southeastern Colorado as well. As we move a little bit further in action, you can, looking at the Front Range, we don't see too much action. I'll show you a computer forecast model solution for the Front Range here in just a minute. But really, central mountains, southern San Juans, and also southeast Colorado. And as we go into the later hours here in the evening, you can see the Palmer Divide gets a little bit of action there, closer to Colorado Springs on the southern end of the Palmer Divide. And this shower activity stays persistent until about midnight tonight, although you can still see some scattered showers, mostly towards the southern part of the state and in maybe the central mountains in the Gunnison Valley as well. So here's a little bit of a closer look of another computer forecast model showing the Front Range. You can see here at 12:30, this solution was showing some scattered but somewhat heavy showers up in the Front Range Mountains, and we know for a fact that that is already verifying because we do have those showers. One has created a severe or a flash flood warning in Grand County in the East Troublesome burn scar. And we'll watch the Front Range here as we go into the afternoon hours, as those showers really do try to move into the area, but The instability is just not there, along with the downsloping winds coming over the mountains from the west. It kind of dries us out a little bit, although you see this computer model showing a pretty hefty cell there in the Evergreen area along the I-70 urban corridor, and maybe down on the Palmer Divide as well. But you see they just continue to keep trying. We're not expecting any type of severe weather out of these cells today. No hail over 1 inch and no wind gusts above 60 miles per hour, at least thunderstorm generated here. And then you see all's quiet here in the late evening to late night hours. So the temperature is going to be well below average once again. Our average here in Denver, as far as a high temperature for this day, is still 90 degrees. So well below the average temperature, and that's going to get the average for the day down as well, and the month. Well, it was 37 degrees this morning as a low temperature in Berthoud Pass, so those mountain temperatures are really starting to get down there. This was kind of somewhat affected by that cold air that came from that system over the last few days, but you see some generally nice temperatures up there to go with those rain showers today in the mountains, and then possibly some warmer temperatures out on the western slope, although that didn't really work out for them yesterday. It stayed much colder than the forecast high temperatures out there on the western slope, but today looks like they're going to get back up into the upper 80s and low 90s in some of those areas. So we talked about that average temperature being below average. We were on track here in Denver to be the hottest month ever recorded in the city of Denver. And those last few days here, those last few cool days, and then we'll add today again another well below average day here in Denver, and that'll get us down. The projection right now for the last 3 days is to finish at an average temperature of 78 degrees, which would make July 2022 the second hottest month ever recorded in the city of Denver. And you see all these, the top 5 are all in the month of July, which is our hottest month on average. So we're going to look at a little bit more heat coming up here as we look at the jet stream and the high pressure returns to the area. Really starting tomorrow on Saturday, this high pressure will start to build in. We'll get back towards average for this time of year over the weekend with a little bit less precipitation coverage through the state. And then on Monday and Tuesday are going to be the warmest and driest days as that high pressure hits the peak, and then you see a little hint of another storm system building up there in the Pacific Northwest, which could impact the end of our week. So say Wednesday night, Thursday, and then on Friday as well. So we'll have to keep an eye on that and see how that impacts it. So here's how that information all looks on the 7-day forecast. You see Saturday and Sunday, only about a 10% chance. Well, actually on Saturday, it's now less than a 10% chance of thunderstorms in the Denver metro area. So pretty dry and about average temperature. A little bit more rain coverage possible on Sunday, but it's isolated, only a 20% chance of rain as it looks right now in the Denver area. And then Monday and Tuesday look pretty dry and pretty hot. We could get those temperatures. We'll go with, the trend has kind of been coming down on that Tuesday high temperature, which was once 99, 98, and it's kind of come down. So we're right in about the 95 degree range, which is still 5 degrees above the average temperature for that day. And then you see how possibly the end of the week going into next weekend could possibly be impacted by a small storm. It doesn't look like at this point that is going to get us down into the highs of 70 degrees like we had an opportunity to yesterday. I think we hit 81 as a high temperature yesterday in Denver. So it's been a lot cooler. We'll have to see how that one impacts. So, well, enjoy your Friday and your weekend. Have a real nice weekend, and thanks for watching.